Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everyone. We got an exciting show for you today. This is the Baxter Effect podcast. Your host, John Baxter, and we're going to be covering what appears to be a lot of important knowledge and information that every American should know their own history. So, not only going to cover our own history, we're going to cover the breaking news of today. Everywhere from Tim Walz to Gavin Newsom to some of the more established information of how we got here as a country. Of course, we're going to talk about the fraud and taxpayer money being used, but we're also going to talk about currency, some of the currency wars going on that have spurred all types of developments. I've got a host with us today. His name is Don DeJesus. I'm going to bring him on. We're going to cover so much of this information, and we're going to actually have AI speak as well. Let me get Don on right now.
Hey,
There
John,
he is.
how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Good to see you, Don.
All right.
How's it going?
Pretty good, real good.
All right. So,
Good to be here again with you.
what we have today is some important information for everyone out there. This is not the current information that you hear on the news, which is mainstream media lies and BS. You'll never get to the bottom of that, but we're here to bring about the current news and narrative so that you can get more information of the reality of not only today, but how the future looks like. So, one of the things I love to talk about is the Organic Act of 1871. Now, hang in here. We have lots of cited work. We're going to be bringing in this Organic Act of the District of Columbia. 1871. What the hell does that mean? That means we became employees of the United States, and British banks and European banks took over. So Civil War has happened here in the United States before. And the Proclamation, Emancipation Act that, took the South. The South wanted slavery. The North didn't want slavery. The British started this war to weaken our currency, have us spend money on our own war. And when we went bankrupt, our so-called best friends at the UK said, well, we have the banks to bail you out. They changed the Constitution for the Constitution of the United States of America to the Constitution for the United States of America. Once they let slaves per se become free, we all became employees of the United States. So realize you're just an employee. You're not considered by the U.S. Constitution a free person. According to these banks, they use Civil War as a way to weaken the people, to weaken the objective of the country, to weaken the financial institutions of the country, to make the country go bankrupt. And when they did that, the European banks swept right in. We're like, yeah, this is great. It was basically Rockefeller who says, as long as I control the your financial banks, I can care less who creates the laws. That's a direct quote from one of the established elite. Who cares about the laws if I'm in control of your banking and financial? Then you really are under control and you're under our spell of whatever we want to achieve within the government. You're at our beck and call. So this District of Columbia Act 1871 is so important because in school, we didn't learn a lot about that. We were told the Constitution was the Constitution, but according to the 1871, we are fighting these wars. Yesterday, I told you about the person that got censored. His name is Jesus. It was the first political death of a system that had a problem with somebody outside the system who was teaching people how to think for themselves and be free. They crucified Jesus over 2,000 years ago. What does that mean? He was just the first guy that got censored. He was the first guy that made a political statement about being free. And this spiritual war is here today. And I was going to bring you in here, Don, on this fact of the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. And today I'd love for you to cover how this relates to Nasara Jasara, which is a futuristic understanding of how, this world's going to operate here shortly. Go ahead and take it here, Don.
Well, when they gave you your employee number, it was your social security number, and that's how you officially became an employee. And then they made you pay. Usually, when you become an employee of someone, they give you a salary. But instead, it's reversed. We have to pay the government taxes to being an employee for them. Isn't that an odd phenomenal, John?
That is
How
insane.
it's reversed. We got our social security numbers, our employee number, and then we got to pay the government to live.
Yeah, and now we've got debt slavery. 70% of Americans plus live paycheck to paycheck, and the most of the people that are paying taxes are working class. So, now that we see Governor Walz, now we see Gavin Newsome, they're running scared. This Omar lady that is Somalian in Minnesota, where directly all the fraud was basically created and started, and it opened the door to all these sanctuary cities. And what we're realizing is that not only are taxpayer dollars being spent on fraud, they're being spent on terrorism, and it's a very scary world out there. And of course, the same people that are in charge of our media, our mainstream media, are the same people spewing these lies about what is the real truth. And so that's what you're going to get from here. The truth shall set you free. That's why we do this podcast, and we're going to give you wisdom. We're going to educate you. We're going to get you up to speed on the reality of this world that we're living in and what the future holds. Go ahead, Don.
And for the future, everybody has this vision, and we study all religions, so they all kind of say the same thing. Everybody's wondering about this one world government, and Nasara Jasara is a huge part of this next chapter of humanity that people are waiting for. Now, is it a false prophecy? Is it just another government? Where did it begin? In the book, we talk about this. We have it all right here. You see that little thing called Drain in the Swamp? Well, that was a book by Harvey Bernard, and it goes back in the early 1990s, and it was called the Nasara Story. NASARA stands for National Economic Security and Recovery Act. And it was trying to put this bill into act, and it had a lot of points to it. One was called the debt forgiveness. A lot of people overhaul on the whole money system. The banks would go, all the Federal Reserves, a whole bunch of things going back to the gold reserve standard. That was one of the things they wanted to do. One of the big things was the tax overhaul reliefs. So if you paid taxes on your house one time, you're only supposed to pay once. The government gouges you year after year after year, making you burdened by by owning a home and retaxing you over and over and over. We only get taxed one time a year on many of products that we buy. Why, when we buy a home, do we have to be overly taxed? And this is all part of this next wave of this one world government that everybody's talking about, that everybody's listening for. A lot of prophecies and many religions say the same thing. Everybody's waiting for this heaven on earth government. And is this the stepping stone to it? We write about this in many angles. This was a huge era for prophecies in the whole Nasara era. With Nasara Jasara, you can see Jasara stands for Global Economic Security Act, where the RV is a reevaluation of the money, and then you have the global currency reset. So there's a lot of different layers. And then you have the third horseman in the Bible that with the pair of scales that represents this global reset. So this global reset comes in many angles. John, you want to share something on this?
Yeah, and Don is covering Nasara Jasara today and covering this futuristic understanding and why we are here today. Why are we here today as people? Why are we in this mix? What is really happening in the world? Go ahead, Don, and cover how this is all tied together.
Nasara is this whole event that this prophecy of Nasara is that this stands for national. It stands for the United States. Justara stands for global. It kind of evolved. It's the same thing, same principle. It's a global reset of this economy's money, the money system. And the Bible says it calls it a different phrase. It says in the last dispensation. So the dispensation means another gulp of time. So this dispensation of the next government of God coming in onto earth, which is really relative to every religion, praying for heaven on earth. And that's what this Jasara, National Jasara event really qualifies. But it's the world's version, John. It's not God's version. The Jasara is not God's version, because there's no taxes. This is a system where they want to go to a flat tax. This is not God's version. God's version of heaven on earth is there's no more money. There's no money in heaven. There's no money in heaven on earth. It's a global supply chain of all things in common, streets of gold around the whole world. This is the real one world government of heaven on earth, not a one world government where we still have to pay to live. John?
Yeah, and that's important because, like, we see our taxpayers, we see what happens when people take advantage of taxpayers, right? We are paying taxes, but the amount of taxes we owe doesn't equate into the amount of fraud, waste, and abuse that's happening, even in 1 year. In 1 year, just in the last 2 years, maybe in just the last year of the Biden presidency, there was so much waste, fraud, and abuse that literally there should be not one person that is homeless in America. We're paying for terrorist organizations and foreign illegals to vote in our elections, and we're paying their room and board and everything else. They're not doing this for your standard tax-paying citizen. They're doing this for votes. So we see what happens, when we have the wool pulled over our eyes. When it comes to the United States. And the rest of the world has been taking advantage of us. So this brings us down to this next question here. Now, when the U.S. had control, when we won World War II, along with UK and along with Russia, there was basically two powers, the East and the West. We won World War II. They kind of split Germany in half. And going down the line, we forced our hand because of this power that every barrel of gas, every barrel of oil, this was sanctioned with Saudi Arabia, had to use U.S. dollar currency. Everything had to be in U.S. dollar currency, and that gave us the 50-year agreement for the petrodollar. Well, guess what? This ended. This is why there's so much turmoil in the world. As of June 9th in 2024, the petrodollar ended. No longer did oil have to be priced in US dollars. And so you got to realize this is a pivotal point of why the world is where it is. The centralized banks have used the US dollar as the golden standard. It's been the standard ever since we left gold. That's why people are buying gold, because our financial systems are insolvent. So people that believe that they have gold, they believe that they have value and long-term value. And because the gas and the oil is no longer in U.S. dollars, we're doing our best to maintain control here in the U.S., to maintain the power across the world, because we're the ones that funded it. Us taxpayers, we funded this entire world. We need to share in a piece that we funded the United Nations. We funded the NATO, the army of the world. The U.S. taxpayer funded all this stuff. And what do we get? We get nothing except complaints, stress, and somehow it's our fault. And it's our children's fault. They're not even born yet. And so when we talk about this petrodollar, I want to make sure and drive this home with you. Then the U.S. no longer has that type of agreement with the world that every barrel of oil has to be priced in U.S. dollars. This is why every country hates us. This is why every country is jealous of us. This is why they want to get us out of the way. They want to destroy America, because if they destroy America, it's just going to be that much easier to take over just vast amounts of land, take advantage of American taxpayer dollars and do whatever they want. We've seen this time and time again. And Don, what do you believe on this agreement, and how important is it with the Nasara Jasara?
The whole thing for me, relative to things of the future here, with this oil is we should not be taking not one drop of oil out of the earth, John. Not even a drop. Do we take oil out of our car? This is the oil of the engine of the earth. And when we're creating these craters, we're creating all these empty holes in the earth that's going to cause these earthquakes, and it's going to cause, we are emptying the fuel out of the earth. And we should be going solar. Every car should be, we should not even be using oil at all. It's a money-making machine. They don't care about the health of the earth. They're creating these hot pockets. That's the oil is the radiator coolant of the earth, and we keep on taking it out every day. We're creating a system where the earth has to get colder to cool it down, like it's doing right now. What is happening? These polar shifts, everything. And as far as this money hole system, John, we talk about this thing too. With this, what direction are we going in with money? It's the one world government currency, the cashless societies now, John. There's about 6 countries that are cashless. China is spearheading this. Anywhere, it's all part of the Bible too. It's called the mark of the beast. You will not be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. And how it works is they scan your forehead, and then you get a little thing on your phone. Yep, that's my purchase. And it's they know everything about you. That's the whole mark of the beast. Every face is a different signature. Your face is the mark of the beast because it's connected to the dollar, and you got to pay to live. It's nothing compared to what we were supposed to do, John. This is not the government of God, and that's what we're talking about. We're comparing the government of the future compared to these old stale governments.
You're right, Don. And what they've called it is, they had COVID, which is COVID. They just said that COVID was a lie. They were at the World Economic Forum just last week, and they said that the whole COVID was a lie. It was a lie to see how subservient our people were. So if you were subservient, you threw on the mask and you fought for what you believed was right. It was all a social engineering test.
It was a COVID lie.
Who was going to join
operation.
it? And then who makes money? China made money off of every mask that was sold, not Americans. Every vaccine was sold was a product made in China. And more billionaires were created during COVID than ever before in the history of humanity. And just selling a lie, selling chaos, and acting like they're somehow the solution, that you have to ask for permission to be saved. This is not the world that we grew up in. This is not the free spiritual world that we know of behind the veil. This is just man. This is just corruption. These are just crooks that figured out this a long time ago, control the monetary system. And who cares who creates the laws? Who cares what goes on in that country? Because if you're in control of the monetary system in that country, there is no worries for the people that are the elites. And
John, if you study that COVID-9 first, it was COVID-9 in China. They had 10 years to perfect this, how it works with people. And they made them wear the mask for 10 years. And then it came out again, COVID-19. It was the double portion that went into the whole world. And they were perfecting it. They were studying this, how it works on humanity, forcing them with these viruses to be locked up, so to speak, and be manipulated by viruses. And that's the government of the mysteries of the end times. The whole mystery of everything in the Bible is pestilence, sword, famine, and death. The very first wave of God's destruction is pestilence, and that's what we see all the time, over and over and over. You can study the 4 waves of God's destruction in your Bible, and it always starts with pestilence. And this is what God's done with the COVID, and then the next is war. So we can see we're on the next doorstep of war.
Into the ID. So there's going to be a chip, or they're going to use your iris to look at your eye. And this is the mark of the beast. This is putting a chip in you, and they can wipe away your finances. They can wipe away anything about you unless you follow with their plan. Not here in the U.S., not under Donald Trump, but all around the world. They want to put you on a global financial system that someone has the keys to, just not me and you, and they can decide on your outcome, just like they did with Jesus 2,000 years ago. So why did I bring up Jesus? Because he's the first political assassination of someone that was saying the right things for people who cared about people, who wanted to end the suffering. You just stand tall, and unfortunately, that's what's happened. And it started 2,000 years ago. This is a spiritual war that we're in, and that is why we are here today. So going further, now that we talked about Saudi Arabia and the petrodollar and how June 9th in 2024, the world was open game to not have to follow through with pricing oil in US dollars. That's how we controlled the world over the last 50 years. Today, we have China, Russia, Brazil, India, South Africa, large corporate countries. Large countries have put together a competing currency against the U.S. dollar, and they have already got it out. And this is why we are fighting tooth and nail as a U.S. that is spread thin throughout the world. We're the ones funding NATO. We're the ones funding the United Nations. We're the ones not getting support. Those same European countries that I just went over in the Act of 1871, they don't like Donald Trump because he could end their issue with utilizing and using the United States. They need to, in that sense, protect themselves. Don't rely on the United States to use our own money to protect you. If you're so strong in Europe, if you guys are so strong, just protect yourself against Russia. Protect yourself against Islam. See how well you do. That's why we're going to get Greenland. And if you want to know why we're going to get Greenland, is because it's ours. It's due to us. We have spent trillions of dollars funding NATO. And if we want to use NATO as our own military, we can, because we're the ones funding and paying for NATO. So this brings about the Brics. So this is another document that, this is the competing to the U.S. currency for the world global stage. And so Donald Trump knows it. A lot of people know it. Most of our liberals don't know this, and they don't know what's going on. So at home, you may not have known of any of this stuff, but that's why we're educating you today. So let's cover a little bit of Brics, if we could, Don. Maybe ask AI what Brics is, or a possibility of what the future holds for the United States U.S. dollar, because it would be interesting to see what AI says, because at the end of the day, who's in control? Who's the leader in the world? According to Donald Trump, we are. And I believe it's somewhat true. The positions and the stances we're taking, Americans aren't going to have to be using their own tax dollars. We're going to be using our country's tariffs to pay for our own tax dollars. And it's brilliant. So if you could go ahead and ask the AI, Don, let's position this to see what they think, what the AI thinks.
What is Brics? The U.S. Reversal of the money? Let's see.
Yep.
What is Brics? And can you explain this to us? What is this U.S. reversal of money and the possibilities of it, and from a real standpoint, like it's going to happen?
It's not playing very loud, Don. We might have the same issue then.
You hear it?
I can't hear. It's not working. You may have to use your cell phone. So let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And so what we have here, so I can read off of this. The Brics countries: Brazil, 20% voting rights; India, Russia, 20% voting rights; China, 40% voting rights. What happens with Brics? And South Africa, 6%. So how does that all work? Well, when we're having a competing currency, these large countries, they got together to take on the United States, the U.S. dollar. So as an American, if you like sports and you like to watch your favorite college football team or your favorite professional athlete team, you root to win. So in America, you really should root to win to make sure that our US dollar holds its conformity as a strength around the world. Because, you go to some countries, if you go to some countries, you'll see that, their dollars is like thousands of dollars, but it equals like 5 cents. Do we want a country with the ratio like, oh, how much does that cell phone cost? Oh, that cell phone costs $1 million, but in US dollars, it's around 1,000. So, we could be ending up in a situation where our own currency is smashed. And that's what these other countries are trying to do. So yeah, there is a little bit of a war going on. It's a currency war that we're stuck in. So, the movement of what Donald Trump is doing and saying is leading us to control the Western Hemisphere, even from what per se were our allies in Europe. Our allies in Europe just want to destroy America as well. So realize they're part of the reason why they were working with Obama. They were working with Biden to send all these illegals into our country and have the enemy inside of our country. So if we have open borders, what we're saying to the Brics Council is they're going to spend money to send illegals into our country. And guess what? You wake up and the enemy's in your bedroom already, ready with a gun pointed to your head. So, yeah, we're taking these people off the streets. There's people that have been, there's kids that have been sold, trafficked, and the liberals will never want to talk about that. They want to complain. They need to be told what to do. They need to complain that, the illegals are being mistreated. Last time I checked, if I go into China, I'm going to likely get killed or thrown in prison and sent back home. So what makes it so much different here in the United States? I don't know. What's your opinion, Don?
I'm just going to say right here, let's ask AI can you give us the bottom line on this BRICS deal? What is the bottom line about what's going on with these countries and this money? So yeah, it kind of shared a couple things here that's kind of real neat. So we'll just try to get to the point here that it really is going to affect a lot of people and with this whole thing.
Here's the bottom line, plain and simple, no fluff. BRICS is about reducing risk, not replacing the US dollar. That's it. Now let me unpack that in real terms. These countries are saying, we don't want our trade, reserves, or banking systems to be totally dependent on one country's currency, rules, or sanctions. So what are they actually doing? They're trading more directly with each other, using local currencies instead of dollars. They're building alternative payment rails, so they're not locked into Western systems like SWIFT. They're holding more gold and commodities to balance their reserves. They're using their own development banks instead of the IMF and World Bank. This is risk management, not rebellion. There is no secret BRICS currency replacing the dollar. There is no overnight financial reset. There is no global switch being flipped. The US dollar is still dominant because it's liquid. It's trusted. It has deep markets. There's nothing ready to replace it. What is changing is leverage. The dollar will still matter, but it won't have the same automatic control it once did everywhere, all the time. So the real shift is from a single center system to a multi-center system. More options, more regional trade, less dependency. That's the bottom line. It's a slow strategic adjustment, not collapse, not chaos, not conspiracy. If you want to go one level deeper next, I can explain how this affects inflation, what it means for savings in gold, or how digital currencies fit into this picture.
Just want to, could you just answer this question about the one world money that the systems are going to right now? Like China is cashless societies. What would you say about this that no government would really talk about? Yeah, we're in the times of prophecy more than ever, John. We are literally in the window.
Grounded in reality, said plainly. And this is the part governments don't like to say out loud. There is no official one world money being rolled out right now, but there is a clear global movement toward digitized, programmable money systems. And that is the real shift. Now let's be very clear about what's actually happening. First, cashless does not mean unified currency. China going mostly cashless doesn't mean it's merging money with the US, Europe, or Brics. It means China is digitizing payments, centralizing transaction data, reducing anonymous cash usage, increasing financial visibility and control inside its own system. That's about governance, not global unity. Second, the real trend is control, not convenience. What governments rarely say directly is this: cash gives people privacy. Digital money gives governments oversight. Once money is digital, transactions are traceable, spending patterns are visible, accounts can be frozen instantly, rules can be enforced automatically. That's powerful and attractive to governments. Third, CBDCs are the real story. Central bank digital currencies are being tested or piloted in many countries. They are not crypto. They are not decentralized. They are state-issued digital cash. What governments don't advertise is that CBDCs allow instant policy enforcement, targeted stimulus or restrictions, time-limited money, conditional spending.
All right, John. Yeah, that's a little bit about what's going on with this cashless society. This is real. These are things that are happening now right below our eyes, and we're going to follow the leaders. They're leading the way right now. We're not leading the way in this cashless society, John. China's leading the way, and we're going to be one day we're going to be cashless the same way. Everything is going to digital. Why? They're going to demand everybody pays taxes. And when we go to digital, there's no more. What are you going to do? You're going to trade money. There's no more trading money. There is no money. They're gonna watch everything. Everything's gonna be watched. Everybody's gonna have to pay taxes. That's what this whole thing's about, John.
Yeah, and we see waste, fraud, and abuse, and so I was gonna break it down here. You know, we talked about many things today, and we talked about the Organic Act of 1871, how it all started. We talked about the petrodollar. We got into the Brics right now. And there's all these cryptocurrencies coming our way. And it appears that, we're going to be on eventually a cashless society with a lot of control systems in place. The only issue is how many times when you trust the government have they been real and accurate? Never. So we can just realize that in this world of corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse, that eventually it's going to turn back into waste, fraud, and abuse, regardless of the system, whether it's digital currency or non-digital currency. We're going to end up in the same situation, which creates a lot of tensions in the world. Mineral rights for Venezuela and Greenland, mineral rights are important because we can't make these cell phones. We can't make certain things without certain minerals. So places like Venezuela become important for the next 100 years. Places like Greenland that looks like it's just an ice cap. They have minerals, which it leads to you to think like, well, what's there? There's just ice, but there's minerals. And whoever owns minerals has control. And if you have control, you know, you have the ability to be a leader or maintain your leadership throughout the world. And that's what the U.S. has done. And that brings us to now the Monroe Doctrine. I know it's an old doctrine, but it was a doctrine to get away. You know, America was founded from breaking away from Europe. Do you guys remember? It was about breaking away from their religion. It was about breaking away from their control system. Here in America, we did break away. But the Monroe Doctrine talks about just getting away from all the countries. Getting away from the countries so that we can have a self-sustaining country here in the United States. We can manufacture our own things. We can become self-sufficient. We have enough oil over here. Why do we need to deal with the other issues around the world if we can just make ourselves strong? And so, I'm a believer in the Monroe Doctrine too. Yeah, we deserve so much power and control because, look, the taxpayers in this country over the last 50 years took care of NATO, took care of the United Nations. We're actually allow politicians to use our money for corrupt reasons as well. So our own country and our own people and our own kids deserve whatever's coming to them. And one of them is controlling the Western Hemisphere, including Greenland, and all the way down to Venezuela, everywhere in between. Because if we don't have not only secure borders, but if we don't have secure neighbors, then we're just going to be constantly in chaos, constantly dealing with the fact that people hate us. You ever had someone jealous of you? This is probably the worst feeling ever. You'll never do them right, and they'll eventually do you wrong. And so we have neighbors around that are super jealous of the United States. We're controlling the monetary system with oil priced in US dollars, and it forces other countries to be, not perfect, but those countries never fought for themselves. Those countries around the world, they don't have good leadership. And what you see with the Board of Peace is that it seems to be, with Donald Trump's Board of Peace, that people are putting principles, values, ethics into running, maintaining a country. Leadership must be decisive. Leadership must have an action plan that helps its people, and not this old-fashioned, what we're used to. Countries just taking money from the United States, from our taxpayers, and then them running the country into the ground. Corruption starts, the leaders take the money, the people stay poor, and then it's just a broken record. So that's what I have on the Monroe Doctrine. Fine to ask AI, Don, or whatever your opinion is.
Let's see what AI has to say about the Monroe Doctrine.
And why is it important today, right? It's just like, well,
what do you have to say about the Monroe Doctrine and how it's relative to the end times, even maybe connected to Nasara Jasara?
Here's the clear, grounded answer, without hype and without dismissing why people feel this connection. What is the Monroe Doctrine? First, plainly, the Monroe Doctrine was announced in 1823 by President James Monroe. Its core message was simple: Europe stays out of the Americas, and the U.S. stays out of Europe's colonies. It wasn't religious, it wasn't prophetic. It was about power, territory, and influence. It marked the moment the United States declared itself a regional enforcer, not just a former colony. Why people link the Monroe Doctrine to end times? Here's where it gets interesting and psychological, not mystical. The Monroe Doctrine represents the rise of American dominance, the shift of global power westward, the beginning of U.S. global intervention. Many religious and alternative frameworks see empires rising and falling as markers of historical cycles. When people talk about end times, they're often really talking about the end of a dominant system, not the end of the world. So the Monroe Doctrine becomes symbolic. The beginning of American power, therefore its decline must signal a turning point. That's a pattern-based interpretation, not a prophecy. Is the Monroe Doctrine ending today? Not officially, but its power is weakening. The doctrine only works if the U.S. can enforce it, other powers respect it, economic dominance backs it up. What we're seeing now, China investing heavily in Latin America, Russia expanding influence in the Western Hemisphere, regional nations acting more independently. That doesn't mean collapse. It means multipolar reality. How this gets tied to Nasara Jasara. This connection is narrative-based, not factual. Nasara Jasara's stories often say, when old systems fall, a hidden reset activates. The Monroe Doctrine is treated in these narratives as the old guard, the final empire rule, the last wall before a global reset. But historically, systems don't reset cleanly. They transition, fragment, and reorganize. No secret legal switch gets flipped. What no government really says out loud. Here's the honest line governments don't headline. Global power is no longer centralized, and no single doctrine controls the world anymore. That's the real shift. Not apocalypse, not divine judgment, not secret laws activating. It's the
Well, you can see, John, that this is another thing that we're talking about that is really connected to things that are old governments compared to the next shift of the new governments and the government of that everybody truly is waiting for. The government of heaven on earth is the government of all governments, that it's the streets of gold. We can even ask AI if to think that we're in the window, that 1 hour window that God talks about. There's 1 hour that is going to be this gap of time that is guaranteed the final fulfillment of all the prophecies. I believe that we're in that window, that chosen generation. I think we're going to witness more things in this next 20 to 30 years with the birth of AI than probably any other shift in the entire earth, of the humanity of earth and the evolution of earth. We're in that one gap of time that more things are going to happen than ever. John?
Yeah, and that leads us to a famous Ronald Reagan quote: is freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. So regardless of what situation you were given, you want to make sure as an adult, as a conscious person living to their human God-given potential, that you leave it a little bit better for the next person. And so, well, we're so lucky here to be in the United States with these freedoms that that is why we're trying to be destroyed from the inside out. The third war would not be on land. The third war would be in your mind and within. And so you see this deception time and time again. It's an inversion. An inversion thinks that, the war that you're fighting is outside or on different countries and different borders. But the war is within. It's within our borders. It's within the people. It's within our thought patterns. It's within them programming people for the wrong understanding of this reality. And so we find ourselves in today, how in the hell are there leering centers getting millions of dollars, up to $60 billion in Minnesota of taxpayer money? They say it's 20 billion, but in Minnesota, $60 billion going to fake daycares, going toward fake, information on pandemics and helping people. So we got the hearing. There was a hearing on Governor Walz. He is being investigated, and that misuse of taxpayer funds, it's not going to go without a lot of pain. And of course, this thing is breaking wide open so that you have an opinion. This whole world is breaking all open for your opinion. It's your opinion that matters. It's your truth. When you study the facts, when you study the pros and cons, it's your truth that it's important, not mine, yours. Study the pros and cons and realize your taxpayer dollars are going toward an FDA that inverted our food pyramid. Before, the food pyramid was that fats, oils, and proteins were at the top, and grains and sugars were at the bottom. Since our FDA has given most of us Americans diabetes type 1, 2, and 3, and dementia, it's because their food system put grains and sugars at the very top of what people need as nutrition. This is that same corrupt politician, Governor Walz and Governor Gavin Newsome, who are stealing money in the billions in California, in the hundreds of billions. They never helped our poor people on the street living in tents. Gavin Newsome helped at least one before taking billions and billions of dollars. $100 billion could end world hunger for every country and every person in the whole world 3 or 4 times over. Where are you at, Gavin Newsome? You're taking that type of money. There are your own state companies are leaving. The oil companies are leaving your state. Tesla is leaving California. The taxes, the inflation, and the leadership in these states that they're busing illegals in, they're busing the worst of people in, because, like I said, the goal was to get votes so that they could try to maintain control and to defraud the American taxpayer. It's very, very discerning that over $60 billion in Minnesota was given to terrorist organizations, Somali illegals, and their average night for one of these people is like $400 to $500 a night for a hotel room. And these are the ones that are getting this. Do you find Americans that have difficulty paying rent or making an income getting a $500 a night hotel rooms and EBT cards with endless amounts on there where they can go buy sport cars for cash, luxury cars for cash on their on a EBT card, I'm sorry. But you look at this and you think, wow, why as a taxpayer am I having to deal with this? You got, someone needs to go to jail. It's at the level where Walz better go to jail. Newsome, he better go to jail.
Yeah, John, there's a lot of government waste. I had one conversation with AI that was just one of my most incredible conversations about a reality check. And I was comparing people that make incomes. So anybody, and I was comparing to people, say, if somebody made 100,000 compared to billionaires, and the billionaires, what should the tax really, really be? AI said no one under $100,000 should even be paying any tax at all. The numbers are so insane compared to the billionaires who have all this money hidden in overseas accounts, so they always evade paying their taxes. And AI was saying it's 1,000% unacceptable. Anybody who's a billionaire, and tell you the truth, Elon Musk, one the richest man in the world, should be paying everybody's taxes in the United States. John?
Yeah,
everybody, 70%, the poor,
Yeah, so if you're forcing everyone, to pay taxes, and like the last I checked, like the largest corporations in the world, Amazon paid no taxes in the last 10 years.
Absolutely
They made
disgusting.
over 60 just this
They
last
robbed
quarter.
the poor.
$62 billion in profits this last quarter. Not $1 paid in taxes. So what are we missing here? There's that type of fraud, corruption, and abuse. Yet, everyday people who are making, around 100,000, most of their money is going to taxes. So it's a sad state of affairs. Your voice matters. Like, comment, share. Let us know what you feel. Post you. You want to jump on the show and talk to one of us? Message us. Let us know that you want to jump on the show. We'd be happy to get you on. And this show is it's live. We don't per se choreograph our talk, and anything goes. We're not censored. We've been censored. I've been censored for over a decade. But the thing is that we're done. We're done. Cancel me. I'll start a new account. It doesn't matter, right? So if you have any questions, concerns, type it in the comment box. Be happy to talk it through. And right now, we have not only in these cities that are housing these illegals, the proper named on of these cities that have all these illegals. They're kind of like safe havens.
Yeah, savior cities.
Yeah, safe haven cities for illegals. These are really just corrupt political organizations within the U.S. These are basically terrorist organizations within the United States. Everywhere from the riots that are caused, George Soros is funding the riots. These people don't care. They're getting paid. A lot of those people that are protesting against ICE agents causing the agitation are literally paid informants for George Soros. So, that information needs to get out there. This is a make-believe news media where they show the actual video, but they don't, even with the January 6th, those were paid FBI agents. Most of those people that stormed the Capitol, they were just paid FBI agents. And that's why they basically classified all the documents and hid that truth from the most American people. And that's why the BBC is getting sued by Donald Trump, because he never incited. And what we see here today, folks, is a true insurrection by the liberal left. The insurrection is our law enforcement can't do their job. And because of the fraud, the waste, and abuse would expose so much waste, fraud, and abuse from the American taxpayer, we would be stupid to not go down to our courthouse or White House or even anywhere. and just demand the truth, demand change. So here we are. I know the popcorn must be pretty good. Yeah, so good. Look at this. Look at this great question that just popped up from Virginia. Are taxpayers funding George Soros Foundation? Great question, Virginia. You know what? In some way, shape, or form, yes. This is no different than the they create these bills, and the funding project within those bills have shown that they are supporting like Black Lives Matter. They are supporting these riots. It's part of the chaos. They say that if they can create the chaos, they can come in and act like the it's like a narcissistic ability. They create the chaos so that they cannot come in and act like the savior for us. Like, we are demanding help from the elites, but they were the ones that created the problem in the first place. So problem, action, solution. That's what it's all about. This is a world stage, and this is a party, and you're not part of the party. That's really what this is. They create the chaos, and then problem, action, solution. Same thing with inflation. Why didn't the Fed lower the interest rate? Why didn't the Fed lower the interest rate? That just happened yesterday. They have full control. The Fed just got online, just did a hearing, a deposition in court. The head of the Fed just got on got a deposition. He says, yes, we just print money. And is there a rhyme or reason how we operate and how we do it? No, the Fed was just like, we just print money whenever we need it. We tally it in some digital side of this. But when someone asks for $100 billion and they create a bill, that money is really corrupt money. It doesn't really go to us American citizens. It never really has. So we demand solutions from these people that are not. But what I can tell you, Virginia, likely yes, likely Hillary, likely Obama, likely Biden has been using money to fund George Soros through probably the Somali community. These criminal organizations, they fund money to other countries. They bring people in from other countries. Taxpayers are paying for likely these George Soros of the world. Maybe not everything, but likely a good portion of it. And that's how sad it is.
The Antifa that George Floyd, he was supporting that. So what if this does break out again? What if he is the man behind this mystery Antifa, the Black Lives Matter? Is he going to support immigrants' lives matter? Are we going to have another global outbreak with all these ICE killings? There's been 6 killings now since it's insurrection, since it started here in the last year, or I forget what the actual date was. But they had a big, they hired like 12,000 new ICE agents when Donald Trump came back into office. It was an incredible amount of people that applied, but they had a whole new wave of all these new employees, and they're all like, they feel they're gun-ho. They got their new job. They're superheroes. They got, we're going to go get every immigrant on this whole United States, and we're going to clean all these cockroaches because they don't pay taxes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have cockroaches, right? It's called draining the swamp. Repeat after me: drain the swamp, drain the swamp, drain the swamp.
Look at you.
Those are the words they hear.
You're a swamp creature.
It goes back to Harvey's work, Nasara Jasara. Like, they don't want to hear, Harvey's work about draining the swamp, which just means that Donald Trump used that, but there was a bigger notification that ran rampant in 2016 when Donald Trump was saying drain the swamp. There's alligators, there's lizards, there's just nasty stuff living in the sewer, and those are called our politicians. So if you do find an alligator swamp, maybe we can fly over and drop a politician in there. Why not? Because they probably deserve it. They've only, and you know what I got to say? Rand Paul, what happened to you? You've been siding with the liberals. Rand Paul, you're the Kentucky senator, and look what you've done. You were taking money from Venezuela. Dominion fake voting machines against Donald Trump, and you sided with liberals. So realize who everyone thought was this constitutional conservative, Rand Paul. His dad was, and who he was, and we find out his name is on the Dominion boxes too. He actually got a lump sum of money, and that's really sad for Rand Paul, state of Kentucky. And not only that, he voted and he received money and he voted with Dominion, with a Venezuela dictator Maduro, to screw up American elections. And that's how 2020 was. It was a lie. Donald Trump won the election, and the truth will set you free. Great question here, Virginia. Why? How can we get rid of George Soros? Everyone needs to be tried by law. I don't know why they can't get rid of him. Hopefully we put some of these politicians in prison. The George Soros of the world, he needs to be eradicated. Like, we are done seeing this devastation. We're done seeing these issues with these sick people, sick and twisted people. And I really do hope that the Clintons get basically what they deserve from the Epstein files. The liberals pushed the Epstein files, and the first person they asked were, after Donald Trump already did a deposition, everyone else already did a deposition, but the Clintons somehow don't do a deposition. Same with the Obamas. Somehow they're not forced to do a deposition. And so the truth shall set you free. Just the fact that they don't show up. If you had nothing to worry, like Donald Trump, and you were considered an Epstein file person, just from a public standpoint, not a private, they use that, just like the Russian hoax, to destroy Donald Trump because there's a photo with the Epsteins. However, I think it was said that Jeffrey Epstein went to the White House over 12 times, and realized, like, why did that happen, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton? Why don't you just show up for your hearing, just like every other one? Are you above the law? You're acting above the law. So you're an elite. It's obvious you're elite, but you're not above the law. So I'm just hoping that they put some handcuffs on some of these people, including George Soros.
John, George Soros truly funds evil. But if you look at Putin, that man is a master evil. I mean, he's probably Satan's twin, if he has a twin, who can go around the earth and just kill 1.5 million people. Look at all Soros, I don't think ever killed one person, but this guy is actually behind these bombings and killings of Ukraine. He's got more land than anybody on the earth. So, I got more land, I got more weapons, I can go take any land I want. I can take more land because I'm the biggest bully on the earth. He's totally unacceptable, most corrupt. That man needs to be, that position needs to be eliminated, period.
Yeah, and so we have about an hour today, and I know we're at a couple minutes till, Don. If you are liking this and you want us to continue, we are. This is a hot topic today, and we're here to give wisdom to our brothers and sisters. People need to know the truth, and no one's delved into this truth likely more than us. And I was considered censored for over a decade, just telling the truth. People thought I was crazy for speaking reality when they just didn't know reality. And so call me elder, call me your conspiracy truther elder. I don't care. I'm fine with that because it's true. I mean, from the very get-go, I was about 10 years ahead of time from our futuristic health technology that we offer. And we lap people. So in information and technology, we lap people. This is not a race for us. It's just it's a conscious act of just knowing, asking the right questions in your own reality. And if you do have some strange questions, you do have people that that you want to verify, we'll be happy to try to answer it. When it comes to major health issues, that's where we see most of our success. You have a friend with a major health issue that's been left for dead. Guess what? They call me. They've been calling me for over a decade. They fly all around the world to come see how we're able to successfully take some type of chronic disease, analyze the information, show you the different targets of what it really is, and give you just physiological solutions to help you get better in 90 days. So, these are the types of things that we do. And if you've made it this far and you're interested in what we do and how we got here, we do have multiple books, and we do have this 333 benefits of grounding, over 15,000 links. There's information in here from Nisara Jasara. All the stuff we talked today, we'll give you the book for free, a digital
The
copy.
10 failed prophecies, John. The 10 failed prophecies of Nasara. This is all, every one of them, even the one with Obama, that they thought Obama was going to release this. Every one of these prophecies, you can go ahead and look through the book. You can read it. You can read all about Nasara, the history of it, and we compare it to all these different governments, the global financial system, the RV, what is the reevaluation, what is the third horseman. We compare all these side by side in a graph. You can see it, and you can study this stuff for yourself and get your own mind thinking about this government of the future. This is what it looks like in the book. You can see we've got a picture of Donald Trump there with the equality, the government of equality. So, John, this is really the message of what we're trying to share, from the past to the future to where we're going. And where are we going into the future with this governments of that we're handing right now? Is this government that Donald Trump's doing right now, that everybody's getting on board with? Is this a new UN? Is this a backdoor UN? Is that what's going on here with this board of peace? Is this a way that's going to
This
change
is
the
a
world?
way to get it out of the hands of the elite. The UN
Yeah.
is an elite, basically situation. And so this is the way to get it out of the hands of the people that are bad, put it into the hands of people that are good, and give an actual shot to our brothers and sisters around the world. And when you realize that what was being had and happening is that the truth is coming out. And when people realize that not the people that are considered bad and ugly to the media are actually decent people who care, and the ones that we've been listening to, we said it last week. Are we living in a place of Stockholm syndrome? Stockholm syndrome happened during Nazi Germany, where you side with your captive, you side with the abuser because you're so abused, and that's what I think is happening to the liberal left. The liberal left is just a bunch of people psychologically manipulated into fear. And they've sided with the agenda because they side with their abuser. And their abuser is their own federal government, is the liberal left. Those people abuse their own people. They treat people with hate. They're the ones creating racism. They're the ones that are inciting violence. Every time there's a killer, what is it? Oh, a crazy wackadoo, far left wing person shooting guns. It's always a far left. And they always.
Jesus called them whitewashed tombs. I call them dead walking coffins. They're brainless. They're godless. They don't even know how to think. It's all there are is everything's materialistic. Everything's touchy feely. You got to have pleasure in everything. No reality in what's going on. They're just their brain is everything in their conscious. They don't even know how to unlock the door to their subconscious and communicate with it.
They were taught a victim mentality at a young age, and that's what they continue to do. These are the people that you ever met a narcissist? They come in different shapes and forms, of course. But really, it's just a person that when they get to 40 years old, they're just a child. They're a 40-year-old child, and they're a narcissist. They want their way. They demand their way. They treat everyone terrible. They start fights. They're very confrontational. This is the liberal agenda. This is the liberal agenda that can't tell you if a biological male can have a baby. Let me ask you, can a biological male have a baby? Can a biological male be pregnant? The left, they can't answer that question because it breaks the whole left liberal agenda. They can't answer that question, and in purpose of that question, they hurt other females. They allow males to be in female bathrooms because of this type of what do you call it? Knowledge. And so when you realize that what they're doing essentially is they're destroying America, our ideology. Our ideology is messed up here in America. They don't know the right from the wrong, the left from the right, and they go along their way as victims. They go along their way as narcissists. They go along their way as whatever they think they get emotional about. They have no sustenance. They have no backbone. They can't hold their words. They speak out of turn. They don't know facts or figures. They just spew junk and garbage as if the media was telling them the truth. That's why they call it programming. You're being programmed just like a computer when you watch TV. Television, basically, they're just telling you a vision. And in that vision, you're getting programmed. And after you watch this long enough, you realize this is how they did it. They divided our country through programming. And if you tell a lie long enough, people start believing it's true. So I'm gonna end it here, Don. Any last final words before we end it?
Look, this is such a great topics that we're talking about today. Was a little bit about the Nasara, different governments, one world, monies and things that are really on the table. The one thing I would say though, John, is we are the chosen generation with AI now, and we got so many things that we bring in as alternative medicine. We want to not only call anti-aging bed, we want to break the curse of longevity, and we want you guys to be a part of our team. Thank you again. We'll talk to you guys next time, John.
Yeah, and to add to that, great job. Thank you, Don, for being here today. Is that we're ending generational trauma and generational curses. We're cleaning this spiritual temple, right? This is the inward understanding where you find truth. You realize that the Gnostic Bibles, they talked about Sophia. They talked about what is called wisdom. Wisdom is internal. Once we all have wisdom that's internal, we realize the truth. And that's the problem with America and this division. We don't understand where we're at. We don't understand who we are. We don't understand our history. We don't understand anything but what the TV tells us. That's why this was such a powerful propaganda that we, how do you destroy a country? From the minds of the people within. Not a physical war, just a psychological war. And so thank you guys so much, and catch us here soon. Catch us tomorrow. We're going live and we're just speaking the truth. I would love for you guys to comment, message, share. There may be a lot of people that want information. And if you have questions, concerns, things you want to talk about in the next show, let me know. We'll be covering anything. And thank you guys so much. It means a lot for you guys to join us today. We fight for justice over here. We know about this at a high level. And we continue to push forward this new frontier, this new future that we all hope for, we all want. And God bless you guys all. Much love here. I'm your host, John Baxter. This is the Baxter Effect Podcast. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, have a great day.